This meeting will please come to order, and I'll ask Ms. Jenkins to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Jenkins. And now, Ms. Waller, we need certification of closed meeting.
A resolution of certification of the closed meeting of January 9, 2020, pursuant to Section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended.
So moved. Second.
Board members, please vote. Motion carried.
The next item is the personnel report. Dr. Buck.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the personnel report as presented.
I second that motion.
Board members, please vote. Motion carried.
Next, we have pupil personnel report.
Madam Chair, I recommend that we accept the pupil personnel report as presented. Second the motion.
Board members, please vote. Motion carried.
Next is the approval of the agenda as presented.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the agenda as presented. Second.
Board members, please vote. Motion carried.
This evening, we have several items, presentations that we would like to make. One in particular that I'm very adamant about is for Ms. Skeeter. And as we all know, back in November, we lost a great champion for education in Suffolk Public Schools. She was a close friend of mine and a colleague. I served with her for 10 years on the Suffolk School Board. Several other members of her up here served with Ms. Skeeter. I learned a lot about Lorraine. We used to carpool a lot to a lot of events all over the state of Virginia, Tidewater region. We spent a lot of time, together. I learned a lot about her family, her values, and what she really loved. And we spent a lot of time talking about families. She loved recipes, she loved cooking, she had so many things besides the school board that she was interested in. But no matter where we went or what we did, one thing that always was on Ms. Skeeter's mind was her family and the school board. And her family, of course, included her two sons, which she lost while she was on the school board, Fritz and little Bobby, and her husband, and of course her daughter remained. I don't think I went anywhere that I didn't hear her remark quite often about Bobby. Bobby Skeeter, my husband, is my backbone. He's the person that's kept me going. And they were a dynamic duo, I would call them. Many of us went to many VSBA events over the years, and I can close my eyes and see Bobby and Lorraine on the dance floor, sometimes to a boogie-woogie or a little shuffle they would do, or maybe a slow dance. But, you know, they are fond memories that I have. I have a lot of memories of her. But her family was key to her and the schools in Suffolk. I considered Lorraine the mother of the school board. When I came on the school board, she took me under her wing, and I didn't know a lot of things, and I was new, and she tried to be like a mother. She was a mother to the superintendents that served. And, you know, she was truly the mother of the board. If you had a problem, or if you had a concern, or if you didn't understand something, if you didn't know a policy, you could go to Lorraine and she could tell you the history and how things had been and how things were. She was a great source. I also remember that she was a person who took her responsibilities very seriously. Being on school board was a very serious matter to her. The duties of a school board member were very important to her. And she tried to emulate that to all of us that served on the board with her. And sometimes, you know, in her motherly way and in the way of Lorraine, if you knew Lorraine, she would kindly tell you you were making mistakes, you know. But we accepted that because, as I said, she was the guiding force on this board for 25 years. But above all, she really loved, you know, Suffolk Public Schools. And so this evening we would like to present a resolution posthumously for Lorraine Skeeter. And Dr. Gordon? And I'll ask our new community engagement officer, Ms. Ward, if she'll come up. And we have it neatly framed, and we'll present it at a later date to the family. Ms. Ward, if you would read the resolution for us, please.
Yes, a resolution of the school board for the city of Suffolk, Virginia, honoring posthumously Lorraine Brinkley Skeeter for the outstanding leadership provided to the school board for the city of Suffolk. Whereas Lorraine Brinkley Skeeter was first elected to serve on the Suffolk City School Board in 1993, representing the Cyrus Borough. And whereas she was reelected to serve on the school board in 1997, 2002, 2006, 2010, and 2014. And whereas she served as city of the school board from 2002 to 2010. And whereas during her tenure on the school board, she was instrumental in the construction of Mac Ben Jr. Elementary School, Northern Shores Elementary School, Hill Point Elementary School, Kings Fork Middle School, Kings Fork High School, Creekside Elementary School, Pioneer Elementary School, Colonel Fred Cherry Middle School, and Florence Bowser Elementary School. And whereas she also aided the school board in renovating Oakland Elementary School, Booker T. Washington Elementary School, and the creation of the College and Career Academy at Pruden. And whereas she led the school board in the opening of Turlington Woods School as the first daytime alternative school in the city of Suffolk, and whereas she was involved in the hiring of 4 school superintendents, Dr. Beverly B. Cox, Mrs. Joyce H. Trump, Dr. Milton R. Liverman, and Dr. Darren R. Whitney. And whereas during lean budgetary years, she provided exceptional leadership to the Suffolk City School Board to lessen the financial impact on students enrolled in Suffolk Public Schools. And whereas Lorraine Brinkley Skeeter was a trailblazer who worked tirelessly for Suffolk Public Schools to ensure that all children in the city of Suffolk would receive a quality public education. And whereas we, the members of the Suffolk City School Board, will be forever indebted to Lorraine for her faithfulness, dedication, and commitment to public education. And whereas we will forever cherish the special relationship we shared with her during her 25 years of service on the Suffolk City School Board. Be it therefore resolved that the school board for the city of Suffolk, Virginia honors posthumously Lorraine Brinkley Skeeter for the outstanding leadership provided to the school board for the city of Suffolk, Virginia, done by the order of the Suffolk City School Board this 9th day of January 2020.
Thank you, Ms. Ward. And as I said, at a later date, I guess Mr. Waller and myself and the superintendent, Dr. Brooks Buck, will give this to the family. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Riddick.
Madam Chair, it's my recommendation Madam Chair, it's my recommendation that we also do a resolution for Mr. Enoch Copeland as well as Dr. Dobransky. I think we should give people, in addition to Ms. Skeeter, give the rest their flowers while they can smell them and see the beauty that they bring.
Any other comments? And next, we have recognition of Beth Ann Bradshaw, who served as Community Engagement Officer. Ms. Ward?
So tonight we want to take this moment to recognize one of our own, Ms. Beth Ann Bradshaw, who's contributed her skills and talents to the Suffolk City school system for 32 years. Mrs. Bradshaw attended Suffolk High School and received a bachelor's degree in English American Studies from the University of Mary Washington. And for over 30 years, she's had over 30 years experience in public relations, writing, design, special events, fundraising, education, and nonprofits. She's been the special events coordinator for March of Dimes, a member of the board of directors for the Suffolk Education Foundation, and campaign manager for United Way. And she's also been my personal mentor. So thank you so much, Beth Ann, for all you've done for me and for the city of Suffolk as well.
I just wanted to briefly say thank you. It's been a pleasure working for Suffolk Public Schools, being a graduate of Suffolk Public Schools. I'm very, very proud of what Suffolk Public Schools has meant to me and my family. I'm proud of what I have been able to accomplish in sharing the success stories of our students and our staff along the way. And I wish Ms. Ward and Dr. Gordon continued success in being able to spread the great news. Thank you.
Thank you. Beth Ann, I'd like to make a comment. I've known Beth Ann for many, many years. I think the first time I ever met her, and I'm a historian, so I have to go back a little bit. She was a much younger lady, and I was too. And I was employed at that time as a teacher at Nansemond River High School. And the children were buzzing one day. Everybody was just gossiping. I said, what's going on? What's going on? And of course, I see her handsome husband sitting back there, Brad Bradshaw. I see Brad. Yes, stand up, Mr. Bradshaw. You must be recognized. Anyway, he at that time was a math teacher at Nansemond River High School. And, you know, there was a budding romance going on. And the children were all into it, of course. And so usually I ate lunch at my desk every day, working diligently and sometimes tutoring kids at lunch. But that day, you know, they wanted me to come to lunch. It was a special occasion. And so I ventured down to the cafeteria, and there was Mr. Bradshaw, Brad, as I called him. And he was down on bended knee proposing to Ms. Bradshaw at Nansemond River High School. That was the highlight of that year for all of my students. It was a wonderful occasion. That is the first time I really met Beth Ann. She had not long been, I think, hired to be community engagement officer, So that was my first experience. I said, what a great opportunity to publicize Suffolk Public Schools. And she started it off with a bang. But I have found over the years, working with her in many capacities, when I was a teacher and I think Teacher of the Year awards and different types of things, I have found that Beth Ann is a wonderful person to work with, and I have enjoyed every minute of it. I even met her children along the way, and I have sort of kept up with Matthew, her son, who was a graduate of Lakeland High School. I believe both of her children graduated Lakeland High. So, Beth Ann, I want to thank you on behalf of the board and myself for all you've done, for the countless hours you have worked. I know there would not be probably, and I'm just going to say this, a Suffolk Education Foundation if it were not for people like you. You have helped us in the rough times, and, we really appreciate it. And I hope in your future endeavors, everything will be great. And I know we'll see you around. Thank you so much.
Madam Chair, yes, Beth Ann, thank you so much. And I want you to know that herding cats is very difficult. And I know getting all together and in the right place and in the places where we're supposed to be and telling the stories you've told over the years. I just want to thank you just personally for the things that we've done together and the times that you've had to take our photos and get us in the right places and tell our stories and show what we wanted to show. So just thank you for the work you've done, and staying in one place 32 years has to be a job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next, public speakers on agenda topics. Are there any? No, none of those. Reports by the superintendent. Dr. Gordon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this point in time, I'd like to also call back up Ms. Ward, our Community Engagement Officer, to talk about a great musical performance from one of our middle schools. Ms. Ward?
Yes, okay, so each month, of course, we take this opportunity to share with you and the viewing audience at home some of the excitement that happens in our schools every day and some of the outstanding work of our staff and our students. Tonight, we first want to share the musical talents from the John F. Kennedy Middle School Chorus under the direction of Miss Jamila Ford. All right, as they come forward, I'll just provide some context. Newport News Shipbuilding officially christened aircraft carrier John F. Kennedy on Saturday, December 7th, and the Suffolk students were part of this historic ceremony. During a rare opportunity, the John F. Kennedy Middle School Chorus was invited to perform 3 selections during the event, including the event's final song, America the Beautiful. In addition to offering this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to students, Newport News Shipbuilding has made a $500 contribution to the school's chorus program. It should also be known that these students performed these 3 songs for an audience of over 10,000 people, so it should be easy for them tonight.
Way
couple of things I would like to say to Ms. Ford and to her group, outstanding. I think I first met Ms. Ford at Booker T, I believe, as a music teacher many, many years ago, and she has great talent, Dr. Gordon. And, you know, this is why we need fine arts. Right. This is why we need it. But anyway, thank you to your group from me, and I'm sure Mr. Riddick and Dr. Buck might like to say something. I think they were there when you performed.
Yes, we were.
Yes.
We sat out there, and we were so glad to see your principal back there
Yeah,
as
Mr.
well, supporting you. And we all were out there in the cold, freezing. We all, and they performed well. I don't think all of them were there because I saw more kids than that. So all of the students aren't here with us tonight. I wanted to say another thing. We spoke about Ms. Skeeter earlier. Ms. Skeeter was a staunch advocate for John F. Kennedy Middle School. Just want you to know that and remember that, because she really was. She was a tigress when she fought for her babies and what she wanted you all to have. So this is just a wonderful evening to remember her and what she did. And you all did a great job. We were so proud of you then and are proud of you this evening.
Mr. Riddick?
I concur. You all did an excellent job, and I look forward to being at your next event.
Thank you so much. Any others? Any other comments?
All right, thank you, guys. So next, we do want to recognize the overall student winner of the Superintendent School Logo Contest. So tonight, we have Miss Alicia Jones, who was selected as our winner from Colonel Fred Cherry Middle School for her art and creative talents displayed in the redesign of her school's logo. Now, the logo contest, it was introduced as a way to improve the appearance of the school administrative offices, and the winner's design submitted will be framed and featured at the school administrative offices.
Ladies and gentlemen, our plan is to make sure that we have all 21 of our buildings and our school mascot and logo that will basically decorate the stairwells of the school administrative office. And Alicia's work is phenomenal. It's part of the reason why we have the second picture up there. If you look closely to the picture on the right, you can actually see an image of Colonel Fred Cherry in the eye of the hawk.
there.
And to us, that just set things apart. So we wanted to give Alicia a copy, because your original is going to be on the wall forever. We want to give you a copy of your artwork, but also a certificate of recognition of being our first school logo contest winner. Congratulations.
Great job. Keep up the good work. Ooh. And I think next we have Robots for Autism Grant. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. At this point in time, I'd like to bring forth to the podium Ms. Stephanie Whitley, our Director of Special Education, with some outstanding news for Suffolk Public Schools. Ms. Whitley?
Good evening. I'm happy to be here tonight to share some good news on behalf of the Special Education Department. I'd like to introduce Ms. Julie Masters, Supervisor of Special Education. Ms. Masters led the team that developed the grant proposal, and she's going to be spearheading the implementation.
Suffolk Public Schools has been chosen to receive funding through the Robots for Autism project. This grant opportunity has been offered to school districts across Virginia to encourage divisions to utilize robotic devices in academics and social emotional learning for students with autism spectrum. Suffolk Public Schools has been awarded $19,710 for our proposal for the use of robotic devices paired with evidence-based practices and alignment with profile of a Virginia graduate. Students receiving special education services in Suffolk Public Schools Autism Spectrum classrooms will maximize their potential as they facilitate deeper learning and become life-ready. Lessons consist of simple puzzle-like coding curriculum for beginners. Students will build upon those beginning coding skills in an interactive way, including social stories. Each robotic challenge will give students the opportunities to identify problems, ask questions, collaborate with their peers, problem solve, practice and develop creativity, learn academic concepts, and reflect upon their designs. As they work together in small groups to solve real-world challenges, developing understanding, and respect each other's ideas, they will foster communication skills vital to their future.
Thank you. Next, we have School Board Appreciation Month. Dr. Gordon?
Yes, okay, and finally, tonight we want the community to be aware that the Virginia School Boards Association and Governor Ralph Northam have designated February as the School Board Appreciation Month. Suffolk Public Schools joined 132 other public school divisions throughout the Virginia to celebrate School Board Member Appreciation Month in February. Across the state, almost 850 elected appointed school board members are being recognized for their service and dedication to public education, including our own 7 elected board members. In Suffolk, our school board members must develop policies and make tough decisions on complex educational and social issues impacting the entire community. They bear responsibility for an annual budget of $173 million, 14,000 students, 2,000 employees, and 21 schools and 6 administrative facilities. I'm going to read a resolution as well for the school board tonight's certificate of recognition. By virtue of the authority vested by the Constitution of Virginia in the Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, there is hereby officially recognized School Board Appreciation Month. Whereas the education of Virginia's school-age children is the foundation upon which the economic, social, and intellectual strength of our Commonwealth is built, and whereas locally elected and appointed school board members play an important role in our representative democracy, as the decisions of local school boards directly influence instruction in Virginia's public schools. And whereas the leadership of our school boards affects the development and future of our children and ensures that students are prepared to compete in local, state, national, and global economies. And whereas local school boards devote themselves to providing a high-quality education for all students in the Commonwealth. And whereas this year's theme, Excellence Through Equity, reflects the top priority of local school board members as they advocate for public education with local, state, and federal leaders. And whereas school board members work with parents, businesses, education professionals, and other community members to create and sustain an educational vision for our students. And whereas the Commonwealth of Virginia is proud of our education system and appreciates the efforts of local school board members to make the Virginia public school system an excellent place in which to educate our youth. And whereas School Board Appreciation Month recognizes school board members for their leadership and support of a public school system from which the entire Commonwealth benefits. Now, therefore, I, Ralph S. Northam, do hereby recognize February 2020 as School Board Appreciation Month in our Commonwealth of Virginia, and I call this observance to the attention of all our citizens.
Thank you. Next, Dr. Gordon, Nike Global Partnership.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's exciting times here in Suffolk Public Schools. As last month we made an announcement about SPS Connect, because we always want to make sure that any new programs and initiatives we have deal with instruction first. But we are also a strong believer in the education of the whole child. I am proud to announce that through BSN Sports, Suffolk Public Schools is now a partner with Nike Incorporated. And our contract that we have is on the same level as Division I schools across the nation. There actually was a bidding war going on due to the fact that we have outstanding student athletes, coaches, and just the overall culture of the importance of extracurricular activities in the city of Suffolk. We all know that Nike Incorporated is the premier athletic apparel, global, and equipment brand, and participation with BSN Sports is going to really allow us to not only purchase equipment, but also spirit wear for our community, schools, staff, student athletes, et cetera. One of the things that was really attractive to us as Dr. Lee, Mr. Hines, and myself began this research was our ability to be able to allow our constituents to purchase apparel with a Nike BSN team shop. And the good part about that is that when apparel has been purchased, the schools get an 8% rebate back annually. So this contract officially goes into effect July 1 of 2020. Suffolk Public Schools is going to receive the following comp, and this is one of the things that we really felt that set us apart. Our high schools, all three of our high schools, would get $12,000 in basically free Nike equipment. And if they have additional bonuses that they will receive for winning regional and state championships, as you can see up on the screen here, we also have an additional $2,000 equipment bonus. Now, one of the things that we wanted to really negotiate was the fact that we wanted to take care of all of our schools and not just make this a high school contract like some other school divisions have done. Our middle schools are going to get $2,000 with a $1,000 equipment bonus. Our elementary schools are going to get $1,000 each, and all of our schools will have the Nike BSN team shop. Our Turlington Woods and CCAP will also receive funds at $500 each. And as I mentioned previously, additional comp products for regional and state championships. Now, we also, one of the keys is we will not purchase Nike apparel at retail price. We will have a 40% discount on everything that we purchase. And we also are starting our process of a branding and marketing plan that will be included at high schools when we have national signing days, equipment that will be used outside to advertise any of our sporting events and extracurricular activities that will go on. And as I mentioned, we always want to make sure that we have equity in our school division. And we are one of the few in the country that has a contract such as this. And one of the goals that I had discussed with the board when they hired me for this position was bringing an extended level of prestige to Suffolk Public Schools. And we are going to be recognized internationally as a global brand and partner. As I continue to discuss this, and we are putting the financial touches on when we will have our team shop available, I would like to make sure I thank three people that really helped to make this deal come through. First is Mr. Boo Williams, basketball grassroots legend. I had a meeting with him at the Plaid Tournament 6 weeks ago, and he made one phone call. It was amazing. He made one phone call, and the next day I was talking to a Nike rep. Also like to thank Mr. Anthony Hines, our purchasing manager. He did a tremendous job of negotiating for me, which is a rarity because I love to negotiate. But Mr. Hines made it very clear what my expectation was, what we wanted for our student athletes, our staff, our constituents, our fans, and our alumni base to make sure that everyone recognizes that Suffolk Public Schools is going to be the premier extracurricular program in the entire Commonwealth of Virginia. And lastly, Mr. Rick Ennis with BSN Sports. BSN is our local Nike distributor. And we, as I mentioned earlier, we had conversations about Under Armour, we had conversations about Adidas, but I'm a Nike guy. And I always believe when you look at who the premier athletes are in every sport, they are wearing the swoosh. And so, Ms. Gardner, if you wouldn't mind helping me out here, we actually have a gift that we would like to present to our school board, your first preliminary gift. Something else may be coming next month for School Appreciation Month, just to show some of the great detail and the quality of product that we're going to get from Nike Incorporated. And this is the beginning. I've had several conversations with a lot of our students. They are very, very excited about this. And we always want to try to find ways to make sure that our student athletes are engaged, want to play multiple sports. It helps to increase our graduation rate, reduce our dropout rate, and it really helps to keep them involved in school. So you all gave us your sizes a little while ago. Now you know why. please make sure that you represent and wear your Suffolk Public Schools authentic school board gear throughout the city of Suffolk.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Nice. Yes, yes. Very nice.
I'm sorry, Ms. Story, what was your question?
What was the total amount of the contract?
We get $61,000 in Nike equipment, free dollars every year. It's going to be an annual contract that we're going to renew. We also wanted to make sure that we had additional incentives put in place there, and that 40% discount is something that only Division I schools obtain.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gordon, for being innovative and bringing new things. All right. Next, we have Special Education Advisory Committee Annual Report.
Yes, I'd like to call to the podium Ms. Leslie Schieffer, who represents the SEAC Committee. I know the school board have received this report, which was actually presented to you all for the 2018-19 school year, but the presentation had yet to be done, so Ms. Schieffer had contacted us with asking for that opportunity, so we'll turn the mic over to her.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair Brooks Buck, school board members, Dr. Gordon. Thank you for allowing me to present this report tonight. As state mandated, the purpose of our committee is to advise Suffolk Public Schools of the needs and the education of children with disabilities, to participate in the development of priorities and strategies for meeting and identifying needs, and to submit periodic reports and recommendations regarding the education of children with disabilities. As is mandated by state SEAC, our voting membership consists of a majority of parents of students with disabilities currently and formerly receiving services in our division. We have one teacher voting member. Our consultants include the director and supervisors of special education, the Parent Resource Center facilitator, and a school board liaison. Our committee is governed by bylaws last revised in December of 2009. Subcommittees are assigned as needed to address our goals. Our 2018-19 goals focused on disability awareness, transition, data and assessments, transportation, communication, and resources. The committee meets 6 times a year on the third Wednesday bi-monthly. Our meetings are held at Kingsford Middle School, 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., and they're open to the public. They are advertised on the Suffolk Public Schools website, the SEAC Facebook page, in every school throughout the city via Peach Jar, and in community spaces such as public libraries. Our subcommittees meet as needed. A period of time is allotted for public comment and subsequent review during each scheduled meeting of the full committee. No public comment was given this term. The committee is tasked with raising public awareness of the impact of disabilities and resources available to assist parents and students. Beginning in October, which is Disability History and Awareness Month in Virginia, members of SEAC helped implement disability awareness activities in the schools. The committee also provides parents with an understanding of the functions of the local advisory committee. Members attended PTA meetings, school board meetings, and other Suffolk Public School events to provide opportunities to discuss SEAC. SEAC also co-sponsored the Disability Awareness Fair on November 16th of 2018. Disability awareness will be a continuing goal. The Little Feet Meet is an event for elementary students receiving self-contained services. It is co-sponsored by SEAC and Special Olympics of Virginia. The event was scheduled for April the 3rd, 2019, with a rain date of April the 5th, 2019. Unfortunately, both dates were canceled due to inclement weather. The committee monitors secondary transition services as budget constraints have severely impacted these services. Starting at age 14, transition services are addressed on the IEP. However, the committee recommends discussion of transition opportunities and resources prior to the age of 14. Transition will be a continuing goal. SEAC monitors testing data and assessments that impact students receiving special education services in Suffolk. We review graduation and/or exit data and discuss accreditation issues within the district. The committee is committed to assessing data on students found ineligible for services and to ensure that the decision is not due to a family's ability to afford services outside of school. This will be a continuing goal. The committee works on improving transportation for students with special needs. The committee will continue to advocate for a bus aid on every bus due to safety concerns. Transportation will be a continuing goal. The committee discussed methods to improve communication between parents of students receiving special education services and the schools. We developed a survey to raise SEAC awareness and to invite recommendations on how to improve special education services. The survey was implemented and distributed via Peach Jar in April of 2019. We developed a Facebook page for SEAC to allow for better communication with our stakeholders, and we continue to work with Suffolk Public Schools to improve the availability of the SEAC brochure in schools and to our stakeholders. This will be a continuing goal as well. The committee endeavors to improve resources available to parents of students receiving special education services. Our committee is developing a list of recommendations for new materials and classes to improve the Parent Resource Center. Our committee is committed to help plan, develop, and implement the use courses for parents, school administrators, and teachers. This will be a continuing goal. Each year, SEAC reviews Suffolk's proposed budget for the next school year to consider any impact on special education services. While the decline in funding for certain special education services over the last several years continues to be a concern to this committee, no public comment to the board was made this year. I'd like to present to you tonight our voting membership for the 2019-2020 school year. These names were submitted to you and they are approved and appointed by you. The voting membership is as follows: Leslie Schieffer, parent, chairperson; Vivian Evett, parent, vice chairperson; Courtney Richardson, parent, secretary; Angela Bickerton, parent; Jeff Davis, parent; Thea Davis, parent; Saul Godinez, parent; Regina Hall, parent; Tierra Logan Biggs, parent; Anitra Simmons, parent; and Holly Boyce, teacher for the deaf and hard of hearing in Suffolk Public Schools. That breakdown is 10 parents and 1 teacher. I would like to emphasize that each member presented has volunteered to serve on SEAC, and we are committed to serve our stakeholders and to improve special education within our district. The committee recently sent a letter to the school board regarding the policies that were passed in November that govern SEAC membership. One of those policies allows the board to appoint 1 committee member from each of their respective boroughs to SEAC. The reason cited by the board for this policy was to create equal equity within SEAC among the boroughs of the city. The committee would like to submit that 5 of the 7 boroughs are currently represented on SEAC. No one has ever been turned away from SEAC for any reason. It is the committee's position that this policy would create a discord between committee members who volunteer to serve on the committee and committee members who are tapped by a school board member to serve. In the interest of equal equity, our committee fully supports the recommendation by Vice Chair Brooks Buck to only add members from those boroughs that do not currently have representation on SEAC. The other policy that requires a letter of intent or an application to be submitted for membership consideration is also a concern. This process could be a deterrent to prospective members who find the requirement intimidating. It may also disenfranchise parts of our district that do not have access to an online application. Our committee would have welcomed an opportunity to give an input prior to the board voting on policies that affect our membership. Our opinion is that these policies will have a negative impact on SEAC membership overall. I appreciate the opportunity to present this report tonight. Are there any questions?
Any comments? Mr. Mitnick?
I'd just like to say I've been very fortunate to be a part of SEAC as the board liaison for the last 5 years, and tonight I was reappointed for another year. And I don't think you will find a harder working group of parents and a teacher to support the needs of their children. And their concerns are genuine, and they will not stop at anything to make sure that their children and all special needs children receive the services that they so much deserve. And I applaud you as a school board member. Thank you all and all the other members of your committee.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to also ditto to what he said. I know some of you have been on there for a very long time because I was once in his position as a representative to SEAC. And I know the work you do and the dedication you have, and I know it comes from the heart. And no matter who's appointed to anything, you can't take that away. And I hope you will continue to do the excellent work you've done in the past. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I want to say to you before you leave, this is personal for me. I was a special education teacher. I was a parent of a child with disabilities. My child passed away. But I'll tell you what, I had another one who had a problem, and it was resolved with early intervention. I know that works, okay? He jumps out of airplanes now. The prognosis was that he wasn't going to be able to stand up. He's a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army now, and he jumps out of airplanes. So the prognosis did not work as it was supposed to. I just want you to know that, as I said, it's personal for me with regard to special education. I thank you for what you do. I was a special ed teacher for 14 years and principal of a special school for 7 years with children with all types of disabilities. I've taught graduate special ed classes, and I've worked with people with disabilities as an advocate. Even now, I don't work in Suffolk because, of course, it would be a conflict of interest, but I still work with parents who are doing what you do. I thank you for what you do because it's hard work. It's hard work, and it calls for special commitment. Everybody can't do it. So keep doing what you're doing, okay? And if anybody's from the Nassau Borough, consider yourself appointed, okay? Bless you. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next, Dr. Gordon, calendar of special events.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Yesterday, we started off with Custodial Workers Appreciation Day, and we sent out some pictures of our head custodian at the School Administrative Office, Mr. Liggins, who actually was wearing one of our custom-made Superintendent's Office jackets in the picture. Mr. Liggins and all of our custodians in Suffolk Public Schools do an outstanding job of keeping our schools clean. And even though it's only one day, we want to make sure that we actually recognize and appreciate them for their work each and every day. National School Counseling Week is February 3rd through February 7th. Non-traditional career extravaganza will be Thursday, February 20th. And this just in, hot off the presses, the 12th Annual Professional Student Conference will be held at the Hilton Garden Inn, the Suffolk Riverfront, also on February 20th, 2020. School Board Member Appreciation Month, as Ms. Ward discussed earlier, is for the month of February. African American History Month is also for the month of February. And National Career and Technical Studies Month is also for the month of February. So we have a lot of great things going on. Also, of course, don't forget about Valentine's Day to celebrate your loved ones. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, consent agenda items. That's an action item.
Madam Chair, I recommend the approval of the consent agenda as presented. I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I would like to, is the calendar part of that consent agenda?
Just the
I'm sorry. I lost my place here. No, okay.
payment of the bills.
Gotcha. I'm sorry, I lost my place. I just, when that calendar comes up, I have something to contribute. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Motion, second. And
Second the motion.
Yeah,
Sorry, second.
Yeah,
You did?
Mr.
Oh.
Minnis.
yeah, Mr. Minton.
Board members, please vote. Motion carried.
Next order of business is unfinished items, and we have a number of ordinances for second reading.
That was under the
That one,
consent
that's
agenda.
got it. I think ordinance 19/20-48 through 19/20-61. These are action items, second reading.
Madam Chair, I move for approval of those ordinances. Second.
Any,
Board members, please vote.
under new business, the 2020-21 school calendar. Oh, question.
Did she show the vote?
Motion carried.
Oh,
Motion carried.
oh, I thought you'd already said it.
No.
Under new business, 2020-2021 school calendar, I believe Dr. Harrison.
Good evening and Happy New Year, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, school board members, and Dr. Gordon. It's my pleasure to come before you this evening and share the proposed calendar for the 2020-21 school year. I'd like to begin by acknowledging and recognizing the hard work of our wonderful stakeholders. We have a very diverse committee that comes together each year to work on a proposal for the calendar for the upcoming year. This committee includes parent representatives, teachers, school administrators, bus driver representatives, school education association representative, and school administrative office representatives. And typically for our calendar committee, one of the first things that we always do is we review the guiding principles that have been put in place to govern our work. And some of these guiding principles include that we always have 10 days of pre-service for new teachers, 7 days of pre-service for returning teachers. The first day of school is always the day after Labor Day. And according to state code, we have to have 180 days of instruction in our calendar, and then the election day in November should be used as staff development, clerical, or a combination of the two. In addition, we always follow the rule, and this is typically throughout our region. On the south side, we typically, all of the school divisions have agreed that when Easter occurs prior to the 15th, we all will schedule spring break the week before Easter. And so in this particular calendar, we are proposing April 5th through the 9th as our time for spring break, since Easter is on April 4th. Also, and as you can see there, whenever Easter occurs after the 15th, spring break will be the week preceding Easter. Okay. And in terms of highlights, I just want to highlight for you a few things to point out in the calendar. You do have the full calendar document in front of you in your board books or in ESB, but just a few things I wanted to highlight for you. The first day of school is September 8th. It's a little later than usual just because Labor Day is late next school year. And then as you can see there, November 3rd is the virtual clerical day because it's election day. November 20th, that will be a parent-teacher conference day, and that's going to be an early dismissal day for students. November 25th through the 27th will be the Thanksgiving holiday. And then again, some additional highlights. You'll see winter break is 10 days, December 21st through January 4th. Then again, the parent-teacher conference day on the 12th. March 9th will be a half-day professional learning day. And then again, spring break the 5th through the 9th. Moving on to June, graduation will be held on June 12th. And then the 18th will be the last day of school, and the 21st will be a clerical day for teachers and no school for students on the 21st. And with that, that brings us, with the additional hours that are built into the calendar, that gives us approximately 8 makeup days that are built into the calendar with the additional hours. And typically, with the additional days that are built in, if additional days are needed due to inclement weather, the board will determine what the makeup days will be for students if needed. And that concludes my presentation. I'd like to open it up for questions.
Questions? Yes, Ms. Story?
It would seem tough to ask teachers to come back on a Monday. Finish on a Friday on the 18th, and you're not off for the summer, but you have to come back for one day on a Monday. If there's a way we could eliminate that so their day ends on the 18th as well, or the students end on the 17th, they end on a Friday. I don't know what that's, in terms of teacher morale, to come back for one day on a Monday to complete before summer, that's a tough one to sell. And I don't know, maybe some other day could be a half day or something, but I think that's really tough to ask teachers to come back on a Monday for the last week of school. So I'm asking for them if we could adjust the schedule somehow to not have a Monday.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Ms. Story, we actually talked about that for a very long time. And Dr. Harrison and her team did a tremendous job of providing those options. And I'll be honest, it really came down to Veterans Day or coming back on a Monday.
How about President's Day? Do we have to continue to observe President's Day? Perhaps that could be a option this year. I don't know.
So,
or a half day, or
half days count as whole days,
Yeah.
Regardless.
So a half day on President's Day.
One of the things that we looked at is what the region was also doing, and we were considering child care for those Suffolk Public Schools employees that don't live in the city. And that was something that the calendar committee made pretty apparent that we wanted to have some regional consistency in the development of our calendar, mainly for that child care expense. With the 180 days that we have to have, 990 hours that we need to have for the elementary, we are still looking at some additional options. But right now, this is the cleanest one that keeps us consistent with the rest of the region. We also looked at, if we were going to take the Monday away, do we shorten spring break? Do we shorten the winter break, which was number one of making sure that we kept that in 2 weeks? But it's something that we'll take, one more look at. But I just wanted to be transparent with you that we knew that was going to be a topic that was going to come up. And, I really want to commend Dr. Harrison's team for exploring those options. We looked at parent-teacher conference days, but the feedback that we've gotten from our constituents is we want to always encourage our families as many opportunities as we can. We made some adjustments in providing some different hours for our parents that may work different schedules. But, again, I'll just be honest and let you know that in looking at the rest of the region, we are pretty much in line, and the rest of the region also wanted to make sure they were in line with us too. But we will take another look to see if there's just one last option to take a look at.
Thanks. And this is Dr. Buck, this is a clerical day, so there are no children there. They're coming back to clean up their rooms, take down boards, and put away things, or not finish up grades or report cards or whatever. Is that basically what's going on that day?
It is a clerical day, yes, ma'am. And so it varies. At the high school level, there's a little bit more that they're doing to close out because they've just finished exams and so forth, and to ensure CUME folders are all
updated,
ready to go. But so it is a clerical day. It varies in some schools if things are completed early. I know that in many cases administrators are not holding teachers to stay the entire day.
So when you finish, you can go.
Typically, that's what happens on those days.
That's going to be one of those unwritten rules, Dr. Brooks Buck.
I understand.
I know I hesitated to say it, but
having been there, I know
the unwritten rule,
unspoken.
yes.
It's unspoken, but it's possible.
That is possible. Yes.
Okay.
Looking at some of the other localities, the region or so forth, I have friends that still teach in some of those areas, and I look at their calendar and I think about Virginia Beach and Chesapeake. Just recently, they went back on a Thursday, from the new year. And those teachers, went back, but, that's their calendar, And I know years ago, sometimes it's what you have to do. And like you said, it can be to the discretion of the administrator of that building. Maybe if everybody's checked out, everybody's clean, so to speak. You used to hold us to that a long time ago, so that put everybody to the gun to have everything in order so that you could check out, and sometimes you could be, out of there by lunchtime. Right. So
And
that's something to think about. There are a lot worse things than having to work that extra half a day or whatever it's going to be. Yeah.
It's those trade-offs, and I do commend the committee
It's a
for
big
their
trade-off.
excellent work. And certainly, as Dr. Gordon has shared, there was much deliberation before coming to this final proposal.
All right. Any other comments? Okay, this is an action item. Mr. Mitnick?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the 2020-2021 calendar as presented.
Is this second?
Second.
Board members, please vote. Motion carried.
Next item, under new business, proposed courses for 2020-2021. Dr. Harrison?
Thank you again. And each year we present to the board our proposed courses for the upcoming school year. And in your board books or in the electronic school board, you have in front of you a copy of the courses that are being proposed as well as those that are being recommended for amendment. And as you can see here, we have recommended for the 2021 school year 5 courses that are recommended for expansion of high school course offerings, 1 course that is not recommended at this time, 1 course that is not recommended for amendment, 1 course that is recommended for amendment to allow for sequential completion, and one course that is recommended for deletion and to be replaced by an alternative course. And again, you have the list in front of you. I won't go through that list, but I'll turn it over now if there are any questions.
Any questions or discussion? Yep, let's admit.
Dr. Harrison, in looking at our AP classes and looking at what the College Board says about AP classes, we have this recommendation for a B average in previous coursework. And when you look at the College Board's recommendation, they don't have that. Actually, they have no prerequisite for AP courses. And in my experience working with kids, there are students who take AP courses without having that B average in previous coursework, who blossom at the college level work and do exceptionally well. I can think a number of students who I went to bat for as a high school guidance counselor who ended up doing very well in a course that they did not have a B in the prerequisite. And I'm wondering why we have that, and I'm sure your studies, if you find that there are, how many students are kept out of AP courses because we have prerequisites?
That's a very good question, and it is something that we have looked at, and I certainly think it's something for consideration for the future as we consider creating greater access in some of those courses. The prerequisite is there because of the rigor of the courses, and we want students to be set up for success in those courses and knowing the demands in many of those courses. However, I do think it's something that warrants consideration for the future, so I do appreciate that input.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think Mr. Mitnick's point is definitely a valid one. And one of the things that we are really starting to discuss is sometimes our prerequisites have served as a barrier for some of our students. And I definitely understand and see with the feedback that Dr. Harrison has received, because we do want to set our kids up for success. This is a conversation, Mr. Mitnick and the rest of the board, that we are starting. And it's something that we really understand that it has to also be a philosophy shift for our teachers. That's going to be really important. And I'll be honest, it will also improve and increase the diversity of our AP courses as well. And so this is the beginning phases of it. This prerequisite in the past in many school divisions that I've seen has been an A. So I definitely like the fact that Suffolk Public Schools has at least given more kids an opportunity who may not have done as well in world history too. We want to increase our overall total number of students that are taking AP classes. So I just wanted to say on record to Mr. Mitnick and the rest of the board, we are taking a serious look at eliminating some of our prerequisites for our AP courses and other college preparatory courses that we can get college credit, just to give all of our students that opportunity to take some of these courses before they leave SPS. Thank you.
Ms. Story?
Thank you, Dr. Gordon. I'm really glad you're looking into that. For some years, definitely the College Board has had open enrollment as a philosophy. And there's been some good studies that it definitely increases diversity in AP classes. And even if they don't do well in AP classes, there is a correlation to them doing better in their community courses. So I'm really glad to hear that we're looking at that, because I think it is a barrier. And now we don't even have some AP classes existing. So I really hope that we look towards following the College Board and having more of an open enrollment to increase diversity and to bring back some of those AP classes we don't have. So I'm on board with that.
Dr. Buck?
And I'm in agreement with everyone else. Is there some way for us to amend this? Because if we indicated that with the recommendation of a counselor or with the recommendation of a subject area teacher. We could amend these things, because this is our
Absolutely,
rule, right?
yes.
I mean,
that
we're
can-
making this rule. It doesn't come from somewhere else.
And I am going to also defer here to Dr. Lawson Davenport.
Okay,
She
yeah.
actually heads up our committee for
Right.
reviewing courses and also oversees our AP program. So I don't know if you had anything additional to add.
I just wanted to add that even though it says prerequisite B or better, that we are flexible on that, so that is not a
Oh, good.
requirement to enroll in the course.
Okay.
The only requirement is the course that's come before. They have to have had, for example, for the world history, they have to have had World History 1 in order to
Okay.
take the AP World History.
Okay.
Counselors know that students will request, even if they've had a C. Like Dr. Gordon said, sometimes teachers are the barrier because if they know a student had a C or something lower in another class, they don't want that student in their class because they feel they'll struggle. So that is something we are working on with teachers. We do have an open access policy with regards to AP. We're actually using the PSAT AP Potential to help drive those students. So now students will get letters that say, based on your PSAT scores in 10th grade, you should potentially take these AP courses in 11th and 12th grade. So we're doing a lot of things to kind of increase that number and pushing students into those courses based on interest. Teachers are actually going to lower level classes and encouraging students to take those courses as well.
Okay.
So you could change it to highly recommended if you wanted to make an amendment to it, but the B is not a set in stone. So if a student really wants the course or a parent really wants a student to take the course, they are allowed to do that. It does not keep them from taking the course.
Thank you.
Dr. Davenport, if it's not a prerequisite anymore, why do we have it listed there?
Because most students are successful with that, and I will say with all of the AP courses, a student doesn't have to have had a higher level course before that. They can take a regular level course. They don't have to have been in an honors or an AP prior to that, but it is a best practice. College Board does actually have some prerequisites, for example, what courses students should have before they take an AP course, and it is recommended that students have demonstrated some type of skill in that course, because remembering the AP takes it into a college level material. So they want to make sure that students are able to do the reading and to be able to understand and work within that content. So that's why we keep the prerequisite, and a B is actually a very low considering what other districts have. But like I said, it's flexible, and counselors know that it's flexible, so they work with students based on how they performed before, what students are interested in. They have a strong work ethic. We do encourage, and I tell parents that during AP Information Night, if they have a strong work ethic and they really want to challenge it. But I think keeping the B also helps students recognize, because it is a weighted course, it does have the potential to affect their GPA negatively. And so it's important that they recognize that they should have a certain level of interest and skill going into that course.
Thank you.
Any other discussions? This is action item, proposed courses. Is there a second? Second.
It's been. Are we ready to vote? Okay.
We can call for a vote.
You want us to do a voice? It's frozen. There, but it's frozen. It's ready.
Board members, please vote. Motion carried.
Okay, next item, Resolution 19/20-16, resolution authorizing the board chair and school superintendent to make an award and enter into a contract to provide intercom systems, IP intercom systems for Suffolk Public Schools. This is an action item.
Move to approve. Do we have a second?
Ms. Story?
Yes. Do we have a copy of that contract, and how much is the contract?
Would you like to elaborate any on that? Oh, Mr. Hines? Yeah.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. To answer Ms. Story's question, this is in response to the state security grant that we received late in October, which did have a little bit of few questions we still had to have answered by VDOE in terms of how we can break out the award amongst the 3 awarded schools. So it took us a little while to get the RFP out. The RFP has been submitted. We have received 4 proposals as of right now. With the award of the grant dollars that we received was $208,000. We required a 25% match on that. It is going to take some additional time in the procurement process to be able to award this contract. We do have a very time-sensitive timeline with VDOE, which by March the 30th, we must expend those funds to be able to receive that reimbursement. So as of right now, we do not have a final contract dollar amount, but we do have the confines of the state security grant that we have to follow within. So we would be looking at about $208,000 plus our 25% match for us to use those state dollars.
So our cost is 25% of the 208?
Yes,
Is that correct?
That is
Okay.
correct. Those dollars are budgeted, I believe, in your yearly budget, because we do apply for that on a yearly basis.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Madam Chair, move that we approve. Second.
Board members, please vote. Motion carried.
Next, we have Resolution 19/20-17, resolution of the School Board of the City of Suffolk, Virginia, adopting a code of ethics for members of the Suffolk City School Board. And I'll ask Ms. Gardner to read that. After this meeting, I guess you will see each of us for signing of that agreement.
A resolution of the School Board of the City of Suffolk, Virginia, adopting a code of ethics for members of the Suffolk City School Board. Whereas, as a member of the Suffolk City School Board, hereinafter referred to as School Board, it is important that each member of the school board strive to be an advocate for students and to improve public education. And whereas each member of the school board will have integrity in all matters and support the full development of all children and the welfare of the community, Commonwealth of Virginia, and nation. And whereas each member of the school board will attend school board meetings and seek to be informed concerning issues under consideration. And whereas each member will make policy decisions based on the available facts and appropriate public input. And whereas each member of the school board understands that the authority for the administration of the schools is vested in the superintendent, and the superintendent is responsible for establishing a process of accountability for administrators. And whereas each member of the school board will seek to encourage individual school board member expressions of opinion and will also seek to facilitate an open, two-way communication process with all segments of the community. And whereas each member of the school board agrees to communicate to the full school board and superintendent in accordance with school board policies, public reaction, and opinion regarding school board policies and school programs. And whereas each member of the school board will seek to encourage desired changes through legal and ethical procedures,
in accordance with all laws, state regulations, and court orders pertaining to schools. And whereas each member of the school board agrees not to use the position of school board member for personal or partisan gain and will seek to avoid any conflict of interest or the appearance of impropriety. And whereas each member of the school board will respect the confidentiality privileged information and will make no individual decisions or commitments that might compromise the actions of the school board or school administration. And whereas each member of the school board will seek to be informed about current educational issues through individual study and participation in appropriate programs, such as those sponsored by the Virginia School Board Association and the National School Board Association. And whereas each member of the school board will always remember that the foremost concern of the school board is to improve and enhance the teaching and learning experience for all students in the public schools of Virginia. Be it resolved, therefore, that each member of the school board will strive to demonstrate appropriate behavior and/or conduct as a school board member, and that each member of the school board has indicated their agreement with this resolution and has affixed their signature to the same this 9th day of January.
Thank you, Ms. Gardner. Thank you. And that is an action item?
Move to approve. This comes from VSBA. It's the standard one that everybody's signing throughout Virginia. So
Ms. Mayo?
it's not ours. It's
I will second the motion.
Board members, please vote. Motion carried.
Next, we have Resolution 19/20-18, resolution of the School Board of the City of Suffolk adopting a code of conduct for the clerk of the Suffolk City School Board. Ms. Gardner?
Whereas a resolution of the School Board of the City of Suffolk, Virginia, adopting a code of conduct for the school board. A resolution of the School Board of the City of Suffolk, Virginia, adopting a code of conduct for the school board clerk of Suffolk City School Board. Whereas, as a clerk of the Suffolk City School Board, hereinafter referred to as school board, it is important the clerk of the school board strive to be an advocate for students and to improve public education. And whereas the clerk of the school board should have integrity in all matters and support the full development of all children and the welfare of the community, Commonwealth of Virginia, and nation. And whereas the clerk of the school board should keep correct and proper records of all proceedings of the school board and shall prepare such reports and keep such accounts as are required by the Code of Virginia. And whereas the clerk of the school board will notify the Virginia School Boards Association of the names of newly elected or appointed school board members in a timely manner, and whereas the clerk of the school board will come to board meetings informed concerning the issues under consideration. And whereas the clerk of the board will communicate in accordance with board policies, public reaction, and opinion regarding board policies and school programs to the school board and superintendent. And whereas the clerk of the school board will refrain from using the clerk position for personal or partisan gain and avoid any conflict of interest or appearance of impropriety. And whereas the clerk of the school board will respect the confidentiality of privileged information and make no individual decisions or commitments that might compromise the school division. And whereas the clerk of the school board will be informed about current educational issues through individual study and participation in appropriate programs, such as those sponsored by the Virginia School Board Association and the National School Board Association. And whereas the clerk of the school board will always remember that the foremost concern of the school division is to improve and enhance the teaching and learning experience for all students in the public schools of Virginia. Be it resolved, therefore, that the clerk of the board will strive to demonstrate appropriate behavior and/or conduct as a school board clerk, and I have indicated my agreement with this resolution and has affixed my signature to the same this 9th day of January. 2020.
Thank you, Ms. Gardner. And that's an action item.
Move to approve.
Ms. Jenkins? Ms.
Second.
Jenkins? Second. And I apologize, but it's not working correctly up here. And when y'all are punching in, there's no, we can't tell very well what's going on. I apologize to you, but something's not working correctly.
Board members, please vote. Motion carried.
Next, under new business, forming the Safety Audit Citizen Committee. Dr. Gordon, would you like to make a statement about this?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. With the creation of our citizen committees that we had a discussion on at our last meeting, it was brought to our attention that this committee wasn't listed. And so in order to make sure that we actually have action to have this committee as part of our citizen committees, we want to have a formal vote on this process. I will also have Dr. Rice available if there's any additional questions about the formation of this committee, as we already have approximately 15 members that have already volunteered to be part of this committee. Dr. Rice has been working on this since our last meeting. Dr. Rice, is there anything you would like to add at all?
Thank you, Dr. Gordon. Actually, no, there's nothing I want to add. Once we realized that we didn't have this committee in existence, we wanted to get the ball rolling on that. We're certainly open because we asked schools if there were anybody that were interested in serving on the committee. But I would like to say that the folks that we got in the emergency services area that have committed, I would like to keep those folks on there if we could, which we have from the fire department, the police department, and emergency services, and a retired fire emergency services person. So if those folks could stay, then I'd be open to whatever members we want to put on that committee.
Mr. Riddick had a question.
Madam Chair, I got a couple of questions here. First question is what's the capacity of this committee?
I want to say 20 members, Mr. Waller, yeah.
20. Okay. The second question is with this particular committee, because it was not one that was in formation when we made the decision to waive the policy at the last meeting for those committees, so we don't unseat anyone in the middle of the year. Should this committee placement fall under the new policy?
This committee is somewhat unique compared to some of the others. For example, the makeup of this committee includes law enforcement agencies, judicial and public safety personnel. So you have a group of people that are actually listed by category that must be part of this committee. So I don't know the names that the administration is recommending, but if those names fall within any of these categories, it would seem to me that they would be appropriate individuals to serve on this committee, and the board could then add to that listing the community at large individuals, because in addition to those groups that I named, the law enforcement, judicial, and public safety, it also includes community at large people. So you could actually add your names to the names that the administration already has in mind, which would be in accordance with your policy.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if we all add our names here, we will exceed the number. It's a total of 15 persons, and this committee is capped at 20, and that would be 7 appointees that we will have to add. There are 3 public safety officials here. I'm just a stickler that we, going forward, we follow suit with what we say we're going to do. If not, there's no need to have it in place. And then, so We're back where we were last month. What do we do?
Dr. Gordon?
Madam Chair, based on the feedback that Mr. Waller just gave, Mr. Riddick, we have some flexibility here. And we could follow suit where we allow the current individuals that are serving on the committee to stay on the committee until the end of the year, which will then align up with our other citizen committees that we have. We can also take a look, since we want to make sure that we provide the board with a breakdown so you can see where these committee members were coming from, to see if we have any equal representation, any representation that's missing from any borough. Potentially a board member could recommend someone to go on it or serve themselves. So as Mr. Waller said, this is unique. We do have some opportunity here. We have 15 current members that are serving on this committee, so we do have space for 5. We do have representation from several of our boroughs, but I don't think we have representation from all. So we will take the board's direction on this if we want to line it up with our other citizen committees and allow this committee to stay in formation as it is right now. If we would like to add people, that's an option to make sure that we have equal representation on boroughs, as long as we don't go over that maximum total of 20.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
From my understanding, this committee, this is the first time it's being formed. So
That is correct. I was going to say, a point of information for that, this
Okay.
committee has not even been assigned yet, of course. We just
Okay.
threw it out there to the principals to start seeking folks that were interested. So this was just a list of people that were willing to serve on this committee. So it has not been formed, or have we had meetings or anything.
Okay. Madam Chair, I recommend that we go according to our written policy.
July 1st.
No, effective immediately regarding this particular committee, that we go according to our written policy. This is a new committee. It's not grandfathered in. They haven't began doing any work. It's no one that would be upset if you, because this just was an interest survey, who was interested. It's not saying, hey, you're going to be on it, if I'm understanding correctly. At some point, we have to follow our policy. And I'm recommending that we take our stand and follow it here with this safety audit committee. And what I will do personally is I would like to look through and see if there's any from the Suffolk Borough. And then I want to get that contact information, and I'll speak with them. And if it's someone up here who I could appoint from this list, I don't have a problem doing that. I just want to make sure that we follow what we passed. And we have to start with this policy, because this one was not grandfathered in as the other ones were.
Another point of information, if I may, is that some of these folks are staff members and may not reside in the city of Suffolk.
I think then our precedence would be on Suffolkians to fill the 3 vacancies that we must have, and then the 7 vacancies of the 7 appointments, which leaves us room for 10 more persons to put on a committee that could be staff.
Mr. Mitnick, I think you would next.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the composition of the committee being 8 members from one particular school. I would like to see either what Mr. Riddick is saying, that we each get an opportunity to appoint from our borough, or that, just like the other committees, we're told which borough these people may reside in if they live in Suffolk, so that we would have the opportunity to appoint those who are already interested. Or if we are going to go through the process, then we need some knowledge so that when we're recruiting members for the committee, you know, what are we looking for?
Ms. Story?
So our policy says currently the school board will appoint citizens to serve on citizen advisory committees. The school board will issue a public announcement and will determine the process for receiving applications or letters of interest from citizens to serve on citizen advisory committees. In selecting citizens to serve on citizen advisory committees, the school board should take into consideration, but not limited to, the following: equitable distribution of citizen advisory committee members among the 7 voting boroughs of the city, expressed interests of the citizens to serve on a citizen advisory committee, the need for diversity, the needs of the school board, and other good and just reasons for appointment. So that is currently for any new citizen advisory committee, and come July, that is how our policy says we should go about doing it. Making a public announcement and allowing people to apply and/or submit letters of interest if they are interested in serving on this advisory committee. And then, of course, we have, for this committee, we do have a definition of, let me get it. The Safety School Audit Committee will be established to evaluate, in accordance with the directions of the school board, the safety of each school, which shall include assessing the school's violence and discipline problems, and in designing appropriate programs, policies, and practices to combat such problems, and submit a plan for improving school safety at a public meeting of the school board. The committee will be comprised of no more than 20 members and shall include representatives of parents, teachers, local law enforcement, judicial and public safety personnel, and the community at large. The committee shall present its report to the school board by June 1st, and I believe this is the exact wording from the code, Virginia Code.
Any others?
I'd like to.
Dr. Buck?
Two things. Last month, when we had the same discussion, I don't know why we're presenting this, because last month we said these things we were going to start July 1st. So that's one. And two, we have learned in looking at the rules for SEAC, they're different. We can't set that because there's some state rules that deal with that organization that surpass the rules we've established. There's some federal rules that go along with some of the organizations that overrule what we have decided to do that we need to consider. There's some other organizations, as I mentioned before, like CTE and some other things that involve businesses for CTE that should have priority rather than just appointing people to be there. I, for one, am not going to ask a business in my district to get off so that I can assign a parent who has no jobs or no internships to give my students. That somehow doesn't seem logical to me. But at any rate, this is supposed to be done in July 1st. We talked about this. So my suggestion is, at this point, let's table this. Let's don't go over this again. If this committee hasn't started working, we don't need to do it now. That's just
Madam Chair.
something up for discussion, because Mr. Riddick talked about that last week. I'm sorry. Mr. Riddick?
Madam Chair, if we could recall back in November, at our November meeting, I asked that we table and do further investigation so we could avoid having policies and things passed that conflict with what you all have and what the other ones have, so we could get our ducks in a row. Someone called for the question, it was questioned, voted upon, and we're here. We have to follow our rules and regulations just as we asked our staff. This was not one of the committees that had names that was attached to it. Therefore, it's not grandfathered in the motion that I recommended, that I moved, that I initiated. The only requirements we're required to have is the 3 public service persons. Other than that, we have 12 staff, of which 8 comes from Nasman River, and the others come from Chuckatuck, EFE, and Nasman Parkway.
Where they live.
So it's, yeah.
We don't know where they live.
We didn't announce it, to my understanding. We violated our policy. So my recommendation is that we follow the policy that we passed. This will be our trial run to see if we can handle it in June when it's time. This policy is not operating. This committee is not operating. It's a brand new committee. We're not upsetting anyone. According to Dr. Rice, the principals asked for people who would be interested. They didn't say, hey, you were selected to serve. So they just stated a letter of interest. I don't see why we're even going back and forth with a committee that this is their first time even actually doing some work. I think this is a time where we can try and see how our policy work out with one committee before we try it with all of the committees. I think it's a blessing that it fell this way. And I would like to move, Chair, that we take it to a vote and operate this committee as our policy to take.
Ms. Story.
I second.
Yes, we'll have discussion, yes.
I think before we can start operating, this board has to do work to come up with an application. We can't just form a committee without an application process. And I was hoping that we had time until July 1st to do that. As we kind of like grandfathered the committees in and they could operate until July 1st, and then we could work on it, and then after July 1st, we would be able to put this out there. We don't have anything. And I'm just concerned that we probably, my recommendation would be is that we accept these folks, let them get the groundwork started, and come July 1st, they're like every other committee.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
there's a motion on the floor that we follow our policy. Within that time frame, I believe our staff could develop an application, and if that's grounds to call for a special meeting, or if there's a way where we could review the application through using the means of technology to approve that said application. I don't know if one exists already that's being used. If not, we need to create one. But this is why it's important that we don't rush into things, that we take time to research as recommended last year, so we won't hit these types of brick walls. However, we have to make up our mind, are we gonna follow the policies that we created and voted upon, or are we gonna keep making rules and breaking them ourselves?
B.
Therefore, I call for the question.
So we have a motion and a second. Call for the question. Vote.
Board members, please vote.
Can't believe she looks at yours every time she goes to Lord have mercy.
Motion failed.
Can you put it up, please?
Moving to the next item, public speakers on non-agenda topics. Do we have anyone, Ms. Gardner?
Ms. Salinger, Ms. Alicia Salinger, if she's here. I'm sorry, she's not here.
Okay.
So there are no speakers?
No others?
No, ma'am.
Okay, we move to comments by board members. Ms. Jenkins?
Thank you. First of all, I want to say greetings to everyone and Happy New Year to everyone that I haven't said Happy New Year to before. I want to first of all thank Dr. Gordon for not disappointing us when you came for your interview. You gave us a plan. You made it plain, and you have been carrying out basically everything that you said you were going to do, and it's all for the better of our kids and our school system. And I appreciate you for not being all talk and no action at this point. Thank you very much. I also want to thank all of you for not letting last year be your last year, and that you came back to Suffolk Public Schools to start a new year and help us make progress like we've done in the past. And I look forward to working with you all and us as a board. You know, we're here to work together and make Suffolk Public Schools greater than what it is right now. During December, we attended a lot of meetings and functions, and one particular was the combination of the city holiday party, and I think it's a great thing when we can come together. It wasn't just a lot of eating, but we did have great conversations. I know I did with some of the city officials, and we're here to work together for the whole benefit of the city. And I just want to thank you all again. Thank you all, fellow board members, and I look forward to 2020 being a great year.
Thank you, Ms. Jenkins. Mr. Metnick?
Yes, I'd like to also say Happy New Year to everyone, and hope you all had a restful winter break. It's most important to revive yourself and come back ready to work. I'd like to say I'm looking forward to working with our board chair and vice chair for another year. I pledge my support to you, and I'll look forward to working with you. And that's all.
Thank you. Ms. Mayo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Greetings and Happy New Year to all. I would like to thank the members of the SEAC committee for that wonderful report, and thank you for your presence this evening. It was very refreshing, I guess, to say that, to hear of your work and the purpose of the committee and your function. And we thank you for your service and for all you do for our children. Your work is valued and appreciated and very important to Suffolk Public Schools. Also, I too would like to thank Dr. Gordon. As Board Member Jenkins said, you're a man of action, and I love these t-shirts. This is awesome. Thank you so much for all that you are doing to enhance the teaching and learning for our children, to the wonderful staff at the School Administrative Office, to our administrators, our teachers, to all who have a hand in helping our children be the best that they can be. And I certainly do look forward to continued success in 2020 and beyond. Thank you so much.
Mr. Riddick?
First and foremost, I want to say Happy New Year's to everyone, and I hope that everyone had a happy and safe holiday. However, to this board, I would like to, well, I want to say this first. I'm blessed to have served officially for 1 year to date. There were some who thought otherwise, but God saw fit to allow a different route to be taken. To this board, I implore you, each and every last one of us, that we reach beyond our break to work better with one another. That we don't be so quick to just dismiss. For an example, we didn't even decide what we were going to do with the names that were submitted. It's still left undone. We have to do better going forward. We have to do better. It's more at stake than our individual personalities, our individual egos, goals, and objectives. We got to do better. On a lighter note, I want to say thank you to the committee for coming out. As a parent who have a child that does receive special education services, I understand and value the importance of what you all are doing. And I say thank you. I just implore that we all move forward in a harmonious fashion henceforth.
Thank you, Mr. Riddick. Ms. Story?
Hey, Happy New Year, everyone. Hope we have a good start to the new year.
Happy New Year to everyone. I'm thankful for the new year and thankful for all the work you did last year. I look forward to working with you. And I'm excited about what I'm doing, what I get to do. I got a chance to work with my wonderful little reading group at Northern Shores on yesterday. That's always inspiring to me. Thank you, Dr. Gordon, for what you do, and thank you so much to my parents at SEAC and all the parents and all of the teachers and staff members who work so hard every day. I just encourage you to keep on doing what you do. We do it for our children. I want to say this because I think it's critical. I know they said it in the newspaper because our reporter was there from the Suffolk News Herald, but I want to say this to Ms. Forsman and her team, a very small team. Thank you for a clean audit that we have every year, and I think that's something that needs to be applauded because it doesn't happen everywhere. So thank you. I'm excited about the robotics grant. I want to see how that works. I really do. I want to come and play with that someday. So I just want to know. I want you all to invite me so I can play with that. But thank you and have a blessed rest of the evening.
That's it. I'm done. A couple of things. Just before the holiday break, I was invited to, along with Dr. Gordon, to Booker T. Washington Elementary School to the Garden of Lights. And I want to report that event really put me in the holiday spirit. It was better than it had ever been. I've been, I think, 3 or 4 years now, and it gets better every year. And I see Ms. Oden back there just shaking her head. She was a great help that night, helped us around. Anyway, it was a wonderful event, and it just shows what the teamwork at that school can do. The teachers and the staff and the students all combined their efforts, and it turned into a great and festive holiday beginning. And I think Dr. Gordon enjoyed it a lot. We made comments, I think, after we came out from judging. It was very difficult to decide which group was the best because I thought they were all very good personally, but somebody had to, come out on top. But I said to him, and I said to the news reporter from the Suffolk News Herald, which it wasn't this young man, it was another young man that evening, I think this should be on TV, because really, it was really phenomenal. So if you didn't make that event, please try to next year because it's a team effort and it really goes over well. Community enjoys it as well. So we thank the students at Booker T for that and the staff and all that great teamwork. Another thing that I wanted to comment on was at the city holiday party, we were entertained by a choral group from Nansemond River High School under the direction of Ms. Jolene Neighbors, and they were outstanding. Of course, they're always outstanding. They're on TV. They do all these special things, during the year, and they get a lot of awards and whatever. But I stood with Dr. Gordon and I believe Ms. Mayo and Ms. Jenkins, and we watched, them perform, and I heard the comments in the audience, the mayor, vice mayor, city council, they made comments. And they were and some people, were sort of shocked at the ability of our students, So I'm hoping that all of that, helps us as we move forward, maybe, helping us to get fine arts more in tune with what we see for the future. I think it's, a way to be optimistic. That was a wonderful event, and I want to thank Ms. Neighbors and the choral group. Again, they were shining stars, and I think that is what shows, and, people realize what we are doing, the very positive things we are doing. Also, we're starting a new year, as Mr. Riddick said, as a board. Time really moves quick, I think. There have been a lot of events during this year. I think we need to reflect on some of those accomplishments that we've had. There have been so many this year. This has been a monumental year for us in Suffolk Public Schools. I can't name them all, but we've had hundreds of awards, honors given to our school system. We have had hundreds of kids to graduate walk across that stage at Ted Constance, and I remember shaking those hands, one after the other. And it was a wonderful time. We won an astronomical amount of scholarship money this year. That's not something that happens if we're not doing the right things, We had 100% accreditation. We need to celebrate the good things that are going on and reflect on those things every day. We need to tell that story till you don't have to tell it anymore. We have got to be the greatest cheerleaders of the school system. Our staff, our leaders have got to do that. And I thank you, all of you who had a part in all of those things, because it's not possible without you. We just don't do those things. It just doesn't come to us naturally. And it takes that teamwork. That's the thing we got to work on. We spent a busy spring and summer, this board. We read a lot of resumes and applications, and we flew people in and out, and we spent a lot of hours working on selecting a superintendent. And our decision ultimately was this guy right here. He's our superintendent. He was selected to lead us and to help us to move to the next level. That's what each of us, I think, we have said that over and over. That's what we wanted. And I think as a board, we did an outstanding job in our selection. I'm proud of our selection, and it was not an easy decision. It was some hard work there. So I thank the board for all of that hard work. But that work came because we collaborated and we had good teamwork in that effort. And I hope as we move forward that we'll remember that. Collaboration, teamwork. We all have a difference of opinions on different things and whatever, but we've got to learn to work together. We have to have compromise, we've got to have cooperation, we've got to have all of those things. But anyway, we need to continue to remember that the greatest goal is Suffolk Public Schools and what's important for Suffolk Public Schools. And with that, I'll just say, every child a star. And that's the way we should end this. Thank you, and thank all of you in the audience for all you do. We can't do it without you. Thank you very much. Looking at the other items, we got informational items. Any questions on those? Anybody have a question? If there are no other comments, Dr. Gordon, any other comments? Oh, wait, stop.
Put that item back on the agenda to do something with those list of names so we don't lose time. That wasn't the motion that we voted on. Out.
Yep. What he said. No further comment, then this meeting is adjourned.